Are you ready?
This is a discussion podcast about wrestling. This episode was recorded February 24th, 2018.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Flip the Mic podcast with myself, MVL Gaming, and the Jonin Monkey. Today we are going to cover 205 Live Shake-Up, a new general manager and Enzo leaving, NXT TakeOver Philadelphia and Royal Rumble recap, Lucha Underground Season 4 developments, and the Elimination Chamber predictions that you know are bound to be wrong.
And late.
Yes.
Well, that was awkward. Okay.
Wait.
That landed about as well as a Roman Reigns comedy promo, but anyway.
We are doing this the day before Elimination Chamber, so that's happening the next day, and I will be watching it live, and it's just fun to make these predictions that we know are going to be completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So first up, we have the show-stopping promos, and I'm going to do a promo from Sid Vicious, a man renowned for great promos, as well as being renowned for jumping off the top rope and breaking his leg in the worst possible way. Google it and, don't thank me afterwards. So, Sid Vicious gave this promo, which is affectionately known as the Half a Brain promo, and you'll see why as I get into it. Also, his dialect in this whole promo is rather amusing in itself. See, I've had enough of you two. See, you've screwed me, you've taken my title, you look like a jackass. See, it all stops tonight. See, Nash? You can wear any Halloween costume you want, but you know, and I know, you're only half the man that I am. And I have half the brain that you two. Which is stopped by Nash and Hall giggling to each other, because that's ridiculous. But week after week, you've tried to make me look like a jackass, which he just did to himself. But it all stops tonight. And as for you, Hall, the road to WCW, the heavyweight championship of the world, well, it all ends tonight. Look at you, Nash. Even though I'm already scheduled to wrestle here tonight, I can get your chicken shit ass out of retirement, and it'll be you and me, one-on-one, if you've got the balls, which I doubt, and I will show you who the master is. So, I believe Sid Vicious asked to redo that promo, but it's live television.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Oh, God.
And it's just beautiful. If you're making, like, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall laugh in the middle of the ring, you know you're doing something wrong.
That's the one beautiful thing about being the young girls now. When someone tells me Sid Vicious is known for great wrestling promos, I never know whether they're being genuine or sarcastic.
Well, he's a great guy. He's great in the ring, except when he's trying to do, luchador moves, which he is not capable of doing. The story behind him breaking his leg in the worst possible way is he did not want to do that top rope spot, the top rope big boot, but he was asked to because they kind of thought his wrestling style was a bit boring. So they asked him to mix it up a little bit, which ended badly. I mean, that was the injury that did lead to his eventual retirement.
Ooh.
But yes, pretty much the godfather of the Roman Reigns promos that were to come.
I mean, Roman delivers his promos stiffly, but they're not nearly as bad as that. I mean,
Well, the problem they have these days, and we've spoke about it before, and people like Jericho are very adamant on this fact, that they shouldn't have scripted promos to the dot. They should be allowed to interject their own character a little bit in these promos. And that's a chance that they're not getting at this time.
yeah, I've seen that complaint many a time, and it definitely makes a lot of sense, because it's really hard for a lot of the modern wrestlers these days to get that personality through. Like, I can't really tell you much about Roman's personality other than he likes to fight and he's the big dog, but that's about it.
Well, I know that Baron Corbin is incredibly likable when he's not playing his Baron Corbin character. Like, I've seen him, he's a really nice guy, and he comes across as a really nice guy, but when he's trying to do his tough guy, attitude, it doesn't really work out the way it really should do. He's much more likable than he comes across. Kind of the opposite with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is a natural heel, he comes from a dynasty. He's had his spot ready for him when he's come in. Not saying he hasn't earned it, and I'm quite adamant on Roman Reigns is a great wrestler, and he wrestles every night. People like Brock Lesnar, they come in like every now and then and get paid a lot of money. Roman Reigns is wrestling every night, the same as Dean Ambrose wrestles every night, until the injury. But I will probably at some point be doing on my show-stopping promos the Tater Tots promo from Roman Reigns. That's probably going to get there. One of the most painful moments on television that I had to watch.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns sort of drag his way through, with the punchline being Tater Tots. A potato joke to an Irish person.
Oh God.
It's just baffling. Anyway.
Yeah.
Enough of that.
Yeah.
205 Live.
Yes.
It's getting good.
Yeah, very strangely. Because, okay, there was a reason why, you may remember in the last Flip the Mic, we were going through the Royal Rumble predictions, and we did actually record a prediction for the first match of the night, which was the Cruiserweight Championship, Enzo Amore versus Cedric Alexander. However, I cut it out of the final show, for two reasons. One, well, because I had to do a massive editing crunch alongside many other projects that time, and I just wanted to skip over it. And the main reason I chose the Cruiserweights was because after the Rumble, none of what happened mattered. Because what happened was a few days, it might have been a week at most after the Rumble, there was this young girl whose name I won't give away here, brought forward some allegations saying that during October of last year, Enzo Amore...
Well, I will say that they're just allegations at this time.
I was going to get into that. At the moment, these are just allegations. All we really know for certain is that Enzo Amore was in the area at the time, and yes, someone did report it to the police at October. But that's all we know about it, and it's not our place to speculate on did he do it or did he not do it, because, again, the investigation's still ongoing and nothing's been confirmed for certain.
What was particularly troublesome for Enzo in this matter is he had known about it since that time and had not reported it to WWE officials.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that got him in particularly hot water when it came out.
Yeah, the bit that mattered to us is that, like you said, when the allegations broke forth, WWE took its regular course of action of saying, okay, we are suspending Enzo Amore and we're going to wait to see what the police say about it. Then an hour later, when, like you said, they discovered that Enzo had known about it for months and hadn't told them, they promptly released him. They gave the usual release statement for Enzo, but with one crucial difference. They deleted the last line, which normally says, "We wish him well on his future endeavours."
Well, to be honest, Enzo had a lot of heat backstage anyway. He's been doing a lot of things that has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and this really was the last straw. If it wasn't this, it was going to be something else down the line. Let's be perfectly honest about this. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him appear in TNA as a new World Heavyweight Champion in like 50 seconds, like Austin Aries. Austin Aries is a great wrestler, and he's not in anything like that. I'm just using Austin Aries as a comparison of someone who's had some exposure in WWE, left the company on probably not the best terms, and then just immediately appeared in TNA later. TNA is... It's weird, it's Bizarro land, because TNA is picking up everything that WWE drops, whereas WWE is picking up everything TNA drops. Because you were going to talk about it later, but, EC3.
Yeah.
He's going to be in TNA. Wow.
Yeah, just weird, round and round and round. But one thing I will say on this matter before we get back to 205 Live, I will freely admit that I'm not the biggest fan of Enzo. I mean, all credit to him, he's great with mic work, but I found his personality, at least the way he presented himself, kind of obnoxious and annoying, apart from, like I said, that one moment when he had to break up with Cass, but...
Yeah, I will say that it's a very sensitive topic, and the less we say about it, the better.
I will.
I will go on to mention Rich Swann, who was involved with domestic abuse charges from his wife. He was suspended. And they say that when you're suspended with this sort of thing in WWE, that merely does mean that you're going to be sitting on the sidelines until your contract runs out. I mean, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. In this case, for Rich Swann, the charges were dropped, but they mutually agreed to release him. And when I say mutually agreed, I think they pretty much told him, you can sit on your contract, probably not getting your downside guarantee, I'm not sure about that, but probably not getting any money, because, the Cruiserweights don't get, much money, especially if they're not being used.
Yeah.
They probably said something along those lines, and then you'd have the 90-day no-compete clause, or you could leave right now, say nothing bad about us, and you can wrestle the next day.
Yeah.
Which is probably what happened.
Probably. I mean, honestly, though, this is my take on the whole thing. Because like I said, I agree with you, the less we say about it, the better. But there's one thing I want to say. As I mentioned, I wasn't a particular fan of Enzo. But this really sucks. This is not the way I would have wanted it to end. Because, and this is the thing, unlike a certain section of fans that tried to start a yes chant when they heard the news that Jason Jordan had a neck injury and would miss WrestleMania, which I know it was a few weeks ago, but I'm still not over that, by the way.
Yeah, that was completely out of line. Kurt Angle, I mean, he tried to stay in character by, confirming the storyline part that he's his father, but he's just saying, you guys really shouldn't cheer if someone's injured. And if I recall, they cheered when Bayley was injured.
Yeah, it was really fucking disturbing, but yeah, unlike those sections of fans, I'm not going to take pleasure from this just because it means Enzo's not on TV anymore. Because, here's the thing, if Enzo is innocent, then that is a massive black mark on his career that he is not going to be able to shake off easily, even if it turns out he isn't guilty. And if he is guilty, then frankly, I don't want a young girl to suffer just to get him off TV, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy situation. Without knowing exactly all of the facts, it's impossible to comment on it. It's going to go to trial, and that's where it should go.
Indeed. But what happened after that was I'm trying to remember if it was Raw or SmackDown, but there was a brief TV package during one of the main wrestling episodes where Daniel Bryan says Enzo has relinquished his Cruiserweight Championship, but we're going to address it on 205 Live, and we're also going to have a new GM. On the following 205 Live episode, despite the fact that for a while it was meant to be run by Kurt Angle, Daniel Bryan comes out and says, "Hi, allow me to introduce the new GM for the Cruiserweight Championships."
Who has the best name ever.
Drake Maverick.
Yeah! Formerly Rockstar Spud. And, what I was saying earlier about, WWE hoovering up the crumbs of TNA. Still really cool. A bit of a shame that Rockstar Spud is not going to be working with EC3, because he makes such a good kind of little rascal for the big guy. Really cool to see him in this position, and they also had him on commentary at one point, and I don't know if they expected him not to just run his mouth, but he totally would, especially if any kind of short jokes came up whatsoever, he was going to be on them. Really cool to see him come to the company. He's doing great for himself, and I'm going to call it right now, because my prediction is that he's not really going to be playing a babyface. My prediction is that when they do come to culminate this tournament at WrestleMania, and whoever wins is going to get one more match after that against Mr. Drake Maverick, because he is a wrestler, and having him in this role is very confusing because he can wrestle. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him drop that at WrestleMania as a little bit of a surprise. That's how I would book it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that might not be how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really cool if that happened. I think part of the reason why they chose him is because he is a good talker, and he has been cutting some good promos, because here's the thing that we didn't find out until a little bit later, but I don't know whether this was just pure coincidence or it's happened following Enzo. There have been some creative changes backstage.
Yes, the reins of 205 Live has shifted. So Vince McMahon was formerly in charge of 205 Live, which is why we got a lot of these really crazy, colourful characters. In Vince McMahon's mind, the characters is what drives the story, and that's what people want to see. That's why you had people like Jack Gallagher dressing up as a gentleman in the ring, which was ridiculous. And you had the PowerPoint presentations, and you had Tony Nese pointing to his abs, which I thought was amazing. But, you had that sort of thing happen. But now Triple H has taken control as Vince wants to move away and, work on the XFL. So Triple H, he runs NXT. He's all about just the wrestling. So Drake Maverick's characters come in as this transitionary period where they're focusing more on the in-ring competition, which is great because 205 Live has been amazing since then.
Yeah, exactly. They're making good use of the fact that Drake is a really good talker, and they had one of the best promos where he took Drew Gulak and Tony Nese into his office and ran them down and saying, "You guys have incredible talent and you're wasting it. You're wanting to be comedy acts." In fact, one of the lines he used against Tony Nese specifically is like, "You have one of the best physiques on the roster, but all you want to do is go out to the ring and go, 1, 2, 3, 4. Congratulations, Tony! You have abs!" And there is part of me that's torn on this, because on the one hand, I do like wrestlers standing out as a character, because, as I mentioned, I do find it kind of annoying when you get wrestlers like Roman Reigns, and it's just like, what is your personality, dude? I have no idea who you are. But at the same time, I've come to realize what it was about 205 Live, at least with its characters, that had me losing interest, and why I think ultimately this is the better move. I really like Drew Gulak and the character they created, but the last time I was really invested in what he was doing, rather than just going, Drew is really entertaining in this segment, was his feud with Mustafa Ali. Because, as I've mentioned in an earlier episode, that was a feud where it was Drew Gulak, the technician, who was insisting that 205 Live should be a no-fly zone because wrestlers were killing themselves by doing these ridiculous stunts that were needed. And Mustafa Ali was the high flyer who felt that it was the wrestler's choice, and he actually got off on the excitement of taking that risk. It was a simple setup, that one that could actually be reflected in ring, with stuff like Mustafa Ali trying to do a 360 frog splash, but Drew Gulak just bringing up his knees as he landed in order to cancel it out. And
yeah, safe and sound, feet on the ground.
Indeed. And it was something that could be continuously developing as they tried different stuff in the ring. That was all great. The problem was, after that feud, Drew Gulak's character was just stagnant. Like, every week it was, here's a PowerPoint presentation for 205 Live, and that's it. And it kind of seems to be where Vince will find something that he likes or is vaguely entertaining, and will just continuously repeat it until it burns into the ground. You can see a lot of that with SmackDown and Raw. Like, Cesaro, everyone keeps mentioning the missing teeth, despite the fact that it happened months ago and they've clearly recovered since then.
Yeah, I will say that Raw was booked really well, but we might go on to talk about that later. This last Raw that had the gauntlet match.
Yeah, that one was really good.
That was amazing. And that did what I wanted, Raw to be, where Raw just starts off with a match.
Yeah.
And that match went on for 2/3 of Raw.
Yeah.
And it really helped make Seth Rollins. But we're talking about 205 Live. I'm sure we'll come back to that when we talk about our Elimination Chamber predictions.
Indeed, yes. I'll say that was a good episode, but in terms of the broad generals of how WWE is handling characters right now, there are so many wrestlers where they basically just take one trait and repeat it without actually developing the feud in any meaningful way. Like, one of the biggest abuses of this is Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy right now, who they started off right with a great series of conflicting promos, and then they've just been repeating the same beats for... I don't think they've stopped yet. I think they've just been...
Yeah, I'm not sure when the payoff is going to be. I've predicted a House of Horrors 2 match at some point. I don't think they're on the card for Elimination Chamber, but they said they were going to, butt heads. I don't know if they're going to keep this thing going all the way until Mania. It's going to be really stagnant, especially if they have a pretty, bad match like they had at Raw, Anniversary. I will say that for 205 Live, it definitely benefits, although I was a big fan of Drew Gulak's character, it did start to dry up a little bit. But because it's only an hour-long show, they can't really afford to have those character promos in there. But it's really good now that they've brought in a load of outside talent like Hideo Itami and Roderick Strong, and they've had some great matches. They've even brought in some of the English competitors from the UK Championship scene, which is really cool.
Exactly, yes, and like you, I'm a fan of Drew Gulak's character, but I do like the fact that Drake Maverick's coming in and shaking everyone out their comedy acts and going, look, dude, wrestle. This is your big chance to get the championship to mean something. And in all credit, like you said, we've had some great matches. Even for a story-based junkie like me, there were some really good ones. Like that whole Drew Gulak versus Tony Nese match, when Drew just completely snapped and started really mangling up Tony Nese at the end.
Yeah, that was great. It was like witnessing his character become unhinged in front of us. He really did, like you say, snapped and became a more violent... I mean, his original persona was a walking torture machine, and that comes in with the holds, especially the Dragon Sleeper, which is kind of like a rack-type move that he does. Really cool to see him sort of delve back into that character. We'll see where it goes from there. And I really liked the Roderick Strong versus Hideo Itami match, although I was very confused to see Hideo lose that match, which led to a puzzling Twitter post from Hideo along the lines of, "It's over, but I'm not done yet." So it's like, there's been a lot of talk about, is Hideo going to stay with WWE? It hasn't quite worked out the way he would have wanted it to. He was a megastar when he came there. But, they had a great match. They put it all on the line.
Indeed, yes. I mean, there have been loads of great matches like that. Like, all of these matches have been tempting me to start picking up the WWE Network, because just with these small highlight reels that have been going up on YouTube, I never thought I would be this excited and gripped by a match between Mustafa Ali and Jack Gallagher, of all people. Yeah,
that was really cool. I mean, Jack Gallagher, as Drake Maverick instructed him to, sorted himself out, mate. That was, he got new gear. And although his gear does kind of look a bit funny, they're going with a sort of old-time English wrestler, look with that. It's still cool to see, He shouldn't be wrestling in a suit in the ring. It's just ridiculous. It's bad enough you have people wrestling in SWAT gear, or like Dean Ambrose in a t-shirt and jeans. It's just ridiculous. So seeing him wear, proper wrestling attire was good.
So, yeah, that was all really, really good. And, yeah, like you said, now that they're focusing more on the wrestling, it gets a bit more to what the Cruiserweight division was supposed to be. In fact, I believe Triple H said he wanted to recreate the feel of the Cruiserweight Classic this time.
Yeah, and doing a tournament was a great way of starting that transition.
Because of that, the matches are taking bigger risks. There are higher spots, and whilst admittedly the crowd is still a problem, you are getting a lot more energy out of them. I mean, they are still tired after SmackDown, but at least now you are getting woo, as opposed to before again, and
Yeah, you've got to wonder how the SmackDown crowd feels, because, after SmackDown, which is a 2-hour show, and that's not including dark matches in between, there's going to be the Mixed Match Challenge as well, which is after SmackDown.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And there's going to be 205 Live. So they're sitting there for like 4 or more hours of wrestling.
Oh, geez, they really need to make it its own show already.
They do indeed. I was very surprised that they don't shoot 205 Live in Full Sail University, which would be a great place to do it.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of talk recently about NXT not making its money's worth on ticket sales, and I think people kind of forget that the NXT isn't about ticket sales. It's about building new stars, and if you're thinking it's losing money there, it's also a big attraction to the network.
A lot of people have been saying it is definitely the better wrestling show than WWE overall.
Yeah, it's a better use of the amount of time they have. I always get frustrated by the same tired guy comes out, runs down the town at the start of the show, and then tells you the matches. That's why the last Raw, which we'll talk about, is so much better, where it started off with just a match. Just some wrestling.
Indeed, yes. Just a basic build-up is often what you need sometimes. The matches of 205 Live have been really great, and like you mentioned before, the tournament is going to last until WrestleMania, where a new champion will be crowned. And for me, this is the interesting part, because like you said, this stuff is tempting me to actually pay for the WWE Network, along with stuff like NXT, which has also been getting good from the highlight clips I've seen. That stuff is tempting me. I think what will be crucial is what happens after Mania. Because you've gotten all this buzz, you've gotten all the tournament. How are they going to handle feuds and storylines from that moment out? Are they just going to keep having tournaments, or how are the characters going to portray themselves once they're fighting each other for reasons other than there's a tournament on the line? Who they feel is going to go after the championship next? Those are all important questions. It'll be interesting to see where 205 Live goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new competitors coming in. You've got Buddy Murphy coming in, who I thought had disappeared since Blake and Murphy. But that's cool to see him. You had Mark Andrews, who's moving on in the tournaments. I mean, Mandrews from NXT, as he used to be called, is another great wrestler, although I hate his music. I'm sorry, but I hate his music. You've got a lot of guys coming into the tournament. Who would you say is your favourite in the tournament, looking down the list?
Oh, let me have a look at the full list.
Yeah, I would say that Cedric Alexander is a favourite, but then I've got a lot of stock on TJP.
Just in terms of my personal favourite, it's still with Mustafa Ali. I think he and Drew Gulak would go far, and I really do want those guys to win personally. But in terms of actual predictions, Cedric Alexander, they were building him up to be one of the big stars of the tournament. In fact, I think they were planning to give him the Cruiserweight title with Enzo and then have that be a back and forth for a bit. That was kind of another thing with 205 Live, in the fact that they would basically have one guy with personality and then have one face continuously going up against them over and over and over, pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view, until someone finally accepted that the face wasn't as big as they hoped. You had that with Austin Aries, you had that with Kalisto, and then they were trying to do it with Cedric Alexander, but then it happened. So,
not to mention that TJP instantly lost his connection with the crowd, and then they turned him heel. It wasn't the other way around.
Yeah.
And TJP defeated Tyler Bates in the first round, which was quite shocking because Tyler Bates is such a great young competitor. And I have heard rumours that Tyler Bates has a little bit of heat backstage for not taking a tour at short notice, which may be the reason he's losing a lot of matches recently. But he's a young guy. He can rebound from that. He's a good, young talent. The safe bet, I would say, is Cedric Alexander. The wild card is probably the messiah of the backbreaker, Roderick Strong. Probably a wild card coming into the finals. But, I'm going to go with Drake Maverick at the end of it. That's my super wild card,
Yeah,
Drake Maverick.
It might be an interesting twist to have a GM who can also wrestle and just get involved.
I imagine if that does happen, they will take him away from GM at that point because you can't be GM and champion.
That is true.
But if that does come to pass, we've recorded it now, and it'll be out way before Mania.
Indeed.
So, I'll be able to tell everyone, I knew it! I was right!
Indeed, yes. I think, personally, my wild card is either either Mustafa Ali or Drew. Actually, part of me wants to say that Kalisto is a wild card because he could potentially be a big face character, but then they did try it, and it wasn't working that well.
Yeah, I mean, if we see a Kalisto push go for more than 2 weeks, I will be shocked. When they turn to, one of the people in the crowd with the camera, and we see a little child wearing a Kalisto t-shirt with a Kalisto mask, and not even he's doing the lucha. So we'll see. I don't trust them to push him.
I mean, actually, looking at this bracket, it could be a battle of the wild card because it's Kalisto versus Roderick Strong, so we'll see.
That is cool. So we will see what comes to pass on the 205 Live tournament for the new WWE Cruiserweight Champion.
Indeed.
So our next topic is NXT TakeOver Philadelphia recap and Royal Rumble 2018 recap. And we'll talk about how wrong we were, or maybe right in certain cases, as we delve into this.
Indeed. Although I should mention that technically, due to the nature of pre-taper, we already had the results of the NXT TakeOver. So.
Yeah, that is true, but we did not have the details. The details are key in this. So some really cool things happened. NXT often is better when it comes to the big four pay-per-views. They have a takeover event, and often the NXT is better. In this instance, Royal Rumble, you had 2 Royal Rumble matches, so I would say they were pretty much on par, but there were still some amazing matches in NXT TakeOver, definitely to a higher quality of the matches you'd see on the WWE events, but they have a lot more time to rehearse in NXT than they do for the main roster. So I'll run through some of those matches and some of my observations. First up, we had the Undisputed Era with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly facing the Authors of Pain, Akam and Razar, with Paul Ellering. So the tag match was great. It was really cool. The thing that cost the Authors of Pain, AOP, the match was a miscue, which is very unusual for such a, highly oiled and very powerful tag team that's been running up in the ranks. I had thought that previously that they might be moving up to the main roster, and I will say that we did get a couple of NXT, wrestlers in the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, but we'll get onto that when it comes. So the Undisputed Era retained their title. The next match we had was another cool one, and that was the Velveteen Dream versus Cassius. Oh no! I can't sing his entrance theme, but you get the idea. After Velveteen Dream came off that fantastic rivalry with Aleister Black that really propelled him, and I will say, if you watch the current NXT, the crowd are really, really big on Velveteen Dream, and he's delivering a heel promo, and the crowd are cheering their minds away when he's, saying that nobody's worthwhile being in the ring with him and things like that. They just love him. So he's really clicked. And what's funny is people really didn't think his character was working when it initially debuted. They thought it was just a really bad kind of like Prince Goldust ripoff, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of the YouTube comments to his debut going like, oh no, this is like in the 80s and that was almost killed wrestling and stuff like that. So
yeah, fortunately he had that, and I believe it was voted Rivalry of the Year for himself and Aleister Black, and that really propelled Velveteen Dream when Aleister Black said his name at the end of the match. This was a cool match. Velveteen Dream said backstage that he was going to beat Cassius Ohno in 30 seconds, that he was going to knock out the knockout artist. So he came down, as you'd expect him to come out. He came out in boxer shorts and ring gear with, the faces of himself and his opponent on. And he did full theatric. He had a lady with a mouth guard, giving to him on a pillow before he came out. And he did some shadow boxing when he was in the ring. Really funny. He really sold it. When it came to the match, the crowd were counting down the seconds. And at one point, he hit Ono with a move, and it sent him down to the mat. And he started cheering and running around the place. He could have got pinned for. he essentially knocked him out. That was really cool. And then Ono came back with a massive slap. The crowd were booing Cassius Ohno in the face.
Oh, wow.
Which was really funny. Cassius Ohno came out and he knocked the mouthpiece right out the Dream's mouth. Well, it took him longer than 30 seconds, but Ono won the match with a Purple Rainmaker. And recently he beat No Way Jose, the Fiesta himself. So really he's getting those wins that he needs to have, and it's good to see that happen. And he's really popular right now, so it remains to be seen whether Velveteen Dream, and I imagine at some point he will be sliding or maybe crawling in a kind of sultry way up the card. But that's going to happen.
He kind of sounds like Braun Strowman, that he was being positioned as a heel, but he's been so popular that they're going to have to start, if not maybe making him face, at least put him in that same neutral area Braun Strowman is in right now.
Yeah, Braun Strowman is working really well to position himself. And I would say that at the point where Braun Strowman is at now, he's probably fully face. But we'll probably get on to talk about that when we mention Raw and the recaps, because Braun Strowman's been hilarious recently. Next up we have the Women's Championship match from Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler, the Queen of Spades. What was really cool about this match, right at the start, Shayna made a Goldberg-style entrance, and Ember Moon came out dressed like some sort of Power Rangers villain. Shayna worked the arm of Ember Moon the whole match. Ember went for an eclipse, but hurt herself further when doing it, which called medical staff out. And then Shayna locked on an armbar. It seemed like Moon couldn't escape without tapping, but eventually she rolled up Shayna for the win, which surprised me. I expected Shayna to win the match. Shayna then attacked Ember Moon after the match and laid her out. And Shayna's been running with this bully persona on NXT. She's been attacking people after matches or in the training room. She attacked Kairi Sane, and Kairi Sane has come after Shayna recently, so that's cool to see that rivalry. Because I really would have not liked to see Kairi Sane take a beating and then not retaliate. That would have been being stepped over.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were saying, because we had the information at the time that Ember Moon was going to win, and I was kind of saying at the time, it's that kind of classic heel-face dynamic of the heels being a big bully, so the faces putting them in their place. I can definitely see why Ember Moon would have won that match, and if they had Shayna attack her after the match and then keep attacking wrestlers, that's a good way for her to still look strong, whilst even though she did take the loss this time. Yeah,
she very much took it to Ember Moon. Nevertheless, they didn't really sell the injury that much because maybe one of those people was in the Royal Rumble, but we'll come on to that. The next match, Aleister Black versus Adam Cole, baby! Another member of the Undisputed Era, and this was an Extreme Rules match. This match was really good, as you'd expect. Lots of weapons used. Black deliberately didn't use many weapons at the start, because his gimmick is his body as a weapon. Cole got his hand cut up pretty badly in this match. The medical staff had to look at him, and that was not story related. That was, the actual cut. There were chairs and kendo sticks and garbage cans used, and Cole took an electric chair drop onto a ladder. Black took a dive outside the ring through tables. Undisputed Era helped, which I thought was a thing that should have happened. You know, it's an Extreme Rules match, so I don't understand why the Undisputed Era didn't come out at the start and make it a 3-on-1, because there's no rules. I've often said this, it's crazy. But they were run out by Sanity. Someone went through the announce table, that was cool. There was a particularly devastating move in this match where the chairs were set up for a move to go through them, but they were not set up as you'd expect it, with a flat part of the chairs in the middle. They were set up so that the point of the chairs, the back, made a point, and it was just devastating. And I can't, in my mind, I mean, it was cool, but I can't figure out why you would do that. I just can't. I mean, I get it, but you've got to take that bump.
Yeah, it's probably that same logic Dante Fox used when he decided, you know what would be a really cool way to end the match? Me falling from a great height onto a glass plane. Yeah,
it was a Death Valley driver through 2 chairs, but the fact of how they were positioned was just horrendous. And wow, that match was great. I am really sold on Aleister Black. He's a great performer. I kind of don't like how he betrays himself outside the ring. His promos are a bit weak. And I know there's a lot of Aleister Black fans who are going to hate me for saying that, but his promos are kind of weak when he's using all of these metaphors and he's trying to string all of these dark words together. It just doesn't get across what he's trying to say when it just feels a bit weak. Yeah. I would rather he be the silent but deadly type. Especially when a lot of his mystique comes from not saying anything.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, I kind of get what they were doing, that he's kind of meant to be this sort of mystical loner and all of that, kind of like a slightly more violent Jedi. But the thing is, he has a good physical presence, but he doesn't really have the vocal work to pull it off, so it kind of comes up. Honestly, it kind of comes out like a teenager trying to write and read poetry. So.
Yeah, I was about to say that, actually. He comes across like a moody teenager. And he had a promo off with Killian Dane at NXT recently, the big guy from Sanity, and it was just... What were they even trying to say to each other? You got one guy going the darkness will take you and you've stepped along my path and you'll have to be taken. And the other guy saying, chaos will conquer. And it's just you guys, you need to either put more into what you're saying or just say regular words.
Yeah. I mean, the only time you can ever really get away with that is anime. And in that context, you have to be screaming it in an over-the-top fashion darkness shall come for you. What is a man?
Yeah, I mean... It's the same thing with Killian Dane. I think Killian Dane, who's the big, the bruiser, the beast of Belfast, as he's called, I think he should just come in and wreck stuff. That's all he should do, and then he should leave, and maybe shave his back, but just leave. And then we have the main event: Andreas Cien Almas with Selena Vega versus Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling, for the NXT Championship. This match was really cool. I will quickly mention that War Machine and EC3 were in the crowd. EC3, who's trouble, from TNA, really cool. Looks like the TNA deal with superstars using their names continues, although it was EC space free. Important distinction, because that's probably copyright. Almas came out with his Lucha mask. That was really cool. Nice to see that. Vega attacks Johnny. Candice LeRae, Johnny's wife, came out, ran Selena out the ring, and Almas got the one. This was a 5-star match.
Oh, hey.
This was a really great match. This has developed into another match on NXT where Johnny Gargano wanted one more shot at the title or he would leave NXT, and he lost once again to Cien, so he is no longer at NXT. They have had some really great matches because of that, but they may never meet again.
Oh.
But regardless, great match, and overall a fantastic pay-per-view.
Definitely sounds like it.
With that, we shall move on to the Royal Rumble.
Indeed. The Enzo match was quickly dispatched, so we ended up having a 6-man tag.
Yeah, the first match was Kalisto, Gran Metalik, and Lince Dorado, which is the Lucha House Party, I think they're calling themselves, which sounds ridiculous, versus TJP, Gentleman Jack Gallagher, and Drew Gulak. And yeah, I don't have much to say about that. I didn't even watch the pre-show. I meant to, but I was streaming and I didn't get, the hours right between the US time and our time. So I missed the pre-show, but we have the results.
Indeed. And After that, it was the Revival who defeated Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, which a real surprise, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a very stagnant tag division in Raw at the moment.
Then Bobby Roode defeated Mojo Rawley.
Now, this is kind of interesting because it was supposed to be an open challenge, from what I understand, where Bobby Roode challenges anybody, and Mojo Rawley, of all people, who's going nowhere. Slimer's going nowhere in WWE right now, despite winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale. What I believe the original plans were for this is for Dolph Ziggler to come out and challenge for the title, which we'll come on to later. He was going to be the surprise opponent, but they changed their minds last minute and made it Mojo. For a very kind of boring match.
Yeah, I mean, it would have made sense given that he did relinquish the US title, but if he does come back, he has bigger plans, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. It would make no sense for him to leave the WWE dropping the US title for no particular reason to then go, hey, that's my title, and come back for it.
Then AJ Styles defeated Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, which is no big surprise, although it hasn't interrupted Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's storyline because that's still ongoing.
Yeah, this was a 1-on-2 handicap match for the WWE Championship, and the result was that there was no tag for the finish, so that the illegal man was pinned, which Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn took to Shane, asking him if, did you see that? Did you see that? That was not right, that's not how it should have ended. At which point, Shane said, yep, which was the kind of a parody of the yep movement, but it's really funny how they use, backstage action replay, as it were, whenever they feel like using it, They didn't use it on a women's title match for Alexa Bliss a while ago, but when they feel like saying, oh, you know what, the referee's decision stands at this time, or it doesn't, at another time, it's very convoluted there.
Yeah, it's basically, you can use the replay for plot reasons.
Exactly.
It's kind of like that really, really old storyline segment involving Hulk Hogan, where he could... the wrestler he was fighting at the time, I forget his name, but he had replaced the referee with an exact double. And
oh, the Hebners, yeah, that happened, they're twins.
Yeah. And then,
he's a crooked ref.
Yeah, and you had Hulk Hogan watching the action replay, and, oh, brother, you can see he's got the dollar bills in the back of his pocket!
Yeah, that was a thing. But, when you can do it, you should do it.
Up next was the Usos versus Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, and...
or as the Usos call him, Shelton Benjamin! I can't quite get it right, but I love the way they say it. This was a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Yeah.
Surprisingly... 2-0 to the Usos.
Yeah, they just defied all normal wrestling convention, because everyone was sort of expecting, okay, we know what's going to happen, the Usos win, American Alpha wins, and then the Usos win again, but no, Usos just crushed them.
Yeah, I'm sure when we came to predict this, we would have said that it would make 3 falls, because I'm sure the rule normally is that the 2 falls don't really matter, you just get them out of the way and the real match is the 3rd fall. But they decided to make the Usos extremely dominant, probably because of their really good t-shirt sales recently. But regardless, they defeated them 2-0. With very much on the top, they delivered a promo on SmackDown saying everyone was on lock in the tag division. Nobody came out to say anything. Nobody came out to dispute that, because they couldn't dispute that.
Yeah. And then the last 2 matches, we had Cesaro and Sheamus defeating Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan.
Raw Tag Championship on the line there. Cool to see Cesaro and Sheamus doing well, although you got to wonder how many miles Sheamus has left on the clock. Jason Jordan, is this where he picked up his injury?
It might have been, because afterwards he appeared briefly on Raw, and it was actually a really good promo where Seth was basically calling Jason Jordan out, saying, I, it's always I with you, it's not about the team. And I thought, okay, this is actually pretty cool. If they're really setting up Jason Jordan going heel, this would have been the perfect spot to do it. But unfortunately, the promo ended with Kurt Angle saying, oh, come on, you got a neck injury. We need to go and see about this. And then the week afterward is the incident we mentioned where the fans acted like douchebags, and Kurt rightfully called them out and said, you should feel ashamed of yourselves.
Yeah, so from what I remember, Jason Jordan was clutching his neck and couldn't make the tag. He has a lingering injury, but now a serious neck injury that required surgery. He's going to be out for a long time, which really puts a stump on the plans for him, because I believe the plan was to have Seth Rollins versus Jason Jordan at Mania, which is kind of why Seth Rollins has been interjected into this Elimination Chamber match, which we will talk about briefly, because that led to a really awesome gauntlet match.
Indeed, yes.
With Seth Rollins making his way into the match, they had this huge gauntlet match at Raw. Start of the show was 2/3 of the episode of Raw. Seth Rollins defeats Roman Reigns clean, just straight up beats him. And you got Roman Reigns doing that kind of cocky smile, like, oh, you beat me, like, this is a big deal, Roman Reigns, you never lose. And he beat you clean, no shenanigans. That's a big deal. That's like beating Hulk Hogan clean back in the day.
Indeed.
And I don't mean to oversell this, but Roman Reigns is their golden boy. he never loses matches.
Yeah.
Like, he never loses matches. He's like John Cena a little while ago, or more accurately, Hulk Hogan, as I mentioned earlier. He never loses, and he got beaten clean.
He never loses cleanly, we should specify, because there have been plenty of times when people have managed to get the better of him because someone's interfered or distracted him at the last minute.
Or a 13-on-3 handicap match.
Yeah.
So he lost, and then Seth Rollins fights John Cena and beats him after beating Roman Reigns.
Indeed.
Which is insane.
Yeah, they're really giving him a big push, because after the Jason Jordan announcement, Seth Rollins came out and said, what about me? I want my big push. And all of this, with the insanely huge push he's gone for the gauntlet, apparently the rumor machine is now saying that after the inevitable WrestleMania match when Roman Reigns defers Brock Lesnar, that's meant to be the big feud afterwards, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, with Seth going, hang on, I beat you that one time.
Okay, that's cool. And because really they should be pushing Seth Rollins. He's on the front cover of the damn video game. He shouldn't be in the tag division. Not saying there's anything wrong with the tag division, but if the guy's on the front of the video game, you want to be pushing him. And that match was really awesome. I mean, Seth Rollins, he did the whole turnaround on John Cena in that match where he picked him up, rolled him through, pulled him up, and delivered an FU of his own. And then eventually won the match. He was taken out by Elias, who has the last spot in the Elimination Chamber match. I'm sure we'll talk about it when it comes to that, because he won that spot, which is really cool. Nice to see Elias being moved up in the rankings. He's got a really nice persona. But awesome match all around.
And finally, getting back to the Royal Rumble, the other match before we get to the main event, as it were, it was Brock Lesnar versus Kane and Braun Strowman. Brock Lesnar won because we all know what the plan is at this point.
Yeah, exactly. The Universal title match was short and rubbish, I have written down as my notes. Brock pins Kane. You have Braun Strowman shouting at the ring, "You never beat me!" as he leaves, but he did beat him in a previous pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's kind of the big problem.
It's just confusing. I feel like they're going to shove Strowman against Brock Lesnar down the line again anyway, and just assume that you've forgotten.
Yeah.
I mean, Strowman did loads of cool stuff on the build-up, like pulling the rigging down on people and just causing havoc, and in between that, eating a bit of cake. He's been amazing on Raw when he was taunting Elias. He brought out his own giant bass guitar. A stand-up bass, and just kind of broke it with his fingers, but eventually broke it over Elias's back. And what's really funny about that is Braun Strowman could sing better than Elias.
I know, right?
It's got to be those big lungs, right?
But yeah, I think they are desperately trying to retcon that last pay-per-view. Like, no, he definitely hasn't been beaten by Brock Lesnar before. Never.
Yeah, like I say, they've been strengthening the F5, so everyone's been beaten by a single F5 recently, and I believe it's so that Roman Reigns can kick out of it, and that'll be a big moment.
Yeah, with that, we get on to, well, there are two main events now. The Men's Royal Rumble, followed by the Women's Royal Rumble that closed the night.
Well, I think, without a doubt, the Women's Royal Rumble was the actual main event, so we should probably talk about the Men's Royal Rumble first.
Indeed.
This was a cool match. The Royal Rumble has always been one of my favourite pay-per-views, and to get two Royal Rumbles was really awesome. I definitely think, and we're going to come on to it, that the Women's Rumble was better, and that's not just because it was the first, but there were way more surprises going on.
Yeah, like this Rumble, it definitely wasn't bad. It was a good match overall, but there was only one real big surprise.
Yeah, so the big surprise, which we'll get on to. So first of all, you had Andrea Cien Almas at number 7. Between that, there were a ton of Rusev chants. Rusev Day was running wild. You had Hurricane Helms for some reason. I don't know why. There were wrestlers that weren't in the Royal Rumble that could have taken that spot. It's cool to see Shane Helms there, but what is he doing in the Royal Rumble? Especially when he just came in as a joke and got eliminated in a second. I hate that. They did that with the Boogeyman and they've done it with other wrestlers. I just hate it when they come in and they immediately go out. It's just, it feels pointless. They had a surprise entrance of Adam Cole, baby!
Yeah, I
that was
going
cool
to ask,
as well.
was this him being promoted to the roster, or is it just we needed to fill space?
I don't believe he's moved up yet, but he definitely will be. I expect he will come up around about the same time as Sanity, maybe on different shows,
maybe.
which might be something they do. Or there's talk about another big NXT invasion at some point, maybe done right.
Okay.
And then the big one, which we wanted to talk about. Number 27, Rey Mysterio.
Indeed. He was back, the crowd was up, and this was an interesting one because he's left WWE for a long time and many people thought he wasn't coming back, and I found out later that he's still not really coming back.
He is in contract negotiations, though.
Yeah, basically the way the contract negotiations are going is that Ray is open to the idea, but he wants to be a part-timer because he's got a lot of gigs going on elsewhere. I mean, hell, he's one of the main faces in Lucha Underground, for crying out loud, and he's got many things going on the indie scene, so he's perfectly fine just being part-time, saying, yeah, I can come in every once in a while, maybe drum up an excitement for a pay-per-view. The problem is WWE are wanting him full-time and aren't budging.
Yeah, exactly. They want the sales and the merchandise. They want all of that with him. I don't see him signing on as full-time. He's much more likely to take a part-time deal at TNA, much more free to do other stuff like Lucha Underground and independent dates. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. They might just shove a fat load of money down on the table in front of him.
And we'll have to see what happens then. But, yeah, the final big number 30 spot that was also meant to be a surprise, but kind of made us all go, wait, what? Was Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, yes, exactly. You know what? I didn't even have that on my notes because it was just so anticlimactic. You got the kind of no entrance of him coming out. He'd been missing for a while. The news is he signed a new contract at something like $1.2 million a year or something like a big money contract. Not Cena, not Brock Lesnar money, but a big money contract. And I do believe he doesn't have to stay the whole night that he wrestles now. He just needs to do his match and he can leave to do comedy or other stuff. And he's working a much better schedule. So that's good for him. That's what that was all about, his disappearance in reality.
And this has also led to the confusing thing where, yeah, it's all great for him that he's got a much better contract. In terms of the audience enjoyment, though, he had this great big promo, he left and was like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Is he going to come back? And instead of coming back to reclaim his US title, he appears in the Rumble, then starts trying to be one of the main challengers for the world title, claiming that that's what he wants is a WrestleMania main event, which, I'm sorry to, but no, you're not getting it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to count him out, because I counted him out when the US title came around, and I had the prediction that he's definitely the guy that's taken the pin in the US title match a while ago, and it turned out that he won. So I don't want to get fooled again.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. The problem is, at the moment, the winner of this match is going up against AJ Styles, and otherwise, let's just say, just for the sake of teasing it out, even though everyone probably knows the result by now, it's someone Shinsuke Nakamura has already fought before, and it'd be really dull to have them go, oh, no, it's really exciting this time, because WrestleMania!
Well, it's still going to be a too sweet moment. So Shinsuke Nakamura did win the men's Royal Rumble, which is really cool because we were thinking for a little while that maybe the spotlight wasn't shining as bright on him as we had expected.
He was my wildcard prediction, but I will admit I was one. I actually did really like the finale to this because it was Finn Balor who, good going on the man for managing to survive from the number 2 spot to the final 4 of all things. But the other 2 wrestlers were John Cena and Roman Reigns, and I was just sitting there thinking, I really want you to win, Shinsuke, but you've got no chance in hell.
Exactly. I mean, the fear came in when you had John Cena and Roman Reigns, 2 people who were very likely to win the match. A similar thing happened when we get to the Women's Rumble, where you had some names where you're like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shinsuke winning was great. It means that they are serious about pushing him. They really want a Japanese star on their forefront. Maybe they're going to start moving into those territories. Maybe that's the reason. You know, a bit of a harder push on that side. But That's cool. I still think an AJ Styles versus Shinsuke match will be great for WrestleMania. They're both technicians. They'll put on a really good match. I don't know, last couple of WrestleManias have been a bit meek. So some really good technical wrestling matches would be good to liven up the card.
Yeah, that would be really good, and that's also why I think it would be a pretty bad move to make it Dolph Ziggler versus Shinsuke Nakamura again, just to swerve audiences for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Overall, pretty cool Royal Rumble. I mean, there were one or two comedy spots that went on a bit long. Like, you did have, like you mentioned, you had the quick elimination. You also had the New Day, who were also going, see, he technically hasn't been eliminated because he's not technically touching the arena, which... It was kind of funny, but also part of me was just wanting Dario Cueto to come out and say, "No, you don't get to win with that."
You know what? I'm starting to get frustrated with Kofi Kingston because I love his return to the ring moments. They're really innovative, but when he gets thrown out immediately after doing it, what's the point? I mean, it will make a great, collection of moments when they eventually... in the far future induct the New Day into the Hall of Fame or whatever, you'll have all of the times Kofi Kingston survived the Rumble. Oh, wow. But they'll cover up the fact that he almost immediately gets thrown out after each time.
Yeah.
There's a similar moment to this down the line for the next Royal Rumble that we'll talk about when it comes to it.
Yeah, shall we head on to it right now?
Yeah, and with that, you get more Rumble than ever. Because there wasn't just one Royal Rumble. There were two. So for the first time ever... we had a 30-woman Royal Rumble match for a spot of the Women's Championship at WrestleMania 34.
Indeed. This was a really great move. I mean, I've heard some people say that 2 Rumbles was a bit much, to which I say, no, it wasn't.
No, exactly. I would flat out leave my comment to that as no.
Yeah, I mean,
it made it awesome.
Yeah, it was indeed. I mean, if you really want the pay-per-view to be shorter, maybe not have quite so many throwaway matches, like maybe just cut out the tag team matches that no one cares about anyway, so... I mean, you clearly don't care about the WWE.
You could easily move the tag team matches to the pre-show. The fact that you had 2 Rumbles was amazing. And man, there were a ton of surprise guests coming.
Oh, yes.
At number 5, we had Lita, which was really cool to see that.
And at number 6, we had Kairi Sane, which was a nice surprise. She's not being promoted up to the main roster yet. Apparently what happened was, and this is actually kind of gutting, Alicia Fox broke her tailbone during the rehearsals of the Royal Rumble.
Yes,
so.
Alicia Fox broke her ass.
Oh,
so, unfortunately, had been removed from the match. Really crushing. At number 9, Tori Wilson. And then Mighty Molly, a.k.a. Molly Holly, at number 12. Lana at number 14, with Rusev Day chants accompanying.
Of course.
Number 14, Michelle McCool, with Undertaker chants. And that kind of bothered me. I mean, I know, the husband and all, but, it's not about The Undertaker or Rusev in this match.
I totally agree with that.
But I will say, at least the crowd are being much better behaved all round in women's matches. There was a while when they would just chant for, like, Sasha Banks or someone else. As if, there's only going to be one women's match. You want to see this one woman. Or I think it was maybe Bayley chants or something. But when it came to it, you had Sasha Banks in the ring, and they wouldn't react. But at least they're behaving now and treating it like actual matches. That's just something I want to throw in there. The crowd are learning to respect it better.
Then we had at number 60 the one comedic spot, which was Vicky Guerrero, although that was...
Excuse me!
Although, thankfully, that was short and quick, and it was just a joke of, like you said, this screechy woman coming in and then just being knocked out promptly by everyone else.
I didn't object to this moment. It was fine. Vicky Guerrero did a lot in her time in WWE. It didn't take over the show by any means, so it was cool to see that. And then we had Kelly at 19. And then we had Jacqueline at 21. Have I got that right?
Yep, you have.
Yes, okay.
I mean, sorry, the reason I'm staying silent, I should mention, is because, again, I'm still new to wrestling. A lot of these people are thinking, oh, great, yes, it's a former WWE star. I have no opinion on these people. I don't know who they are, but...
At number 21, we had Jacqueline. I could have done with a little more NXT in the Royal Rumble. But we did have Ember Moon in at 23.
Indeed.
And Naomi stole Kofi's gimmick, so that may be a thing that Naomi does moving forward.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing. She did this big escapade where her feet weren't touching the floor. She does this whole sequence. The audience gets a laugh at it. Nia Jax quickly just throws her out the ring again.
Yeah, so you've got to hope that doesn't follow.
And speaking of Nia Jax, they are continuing the repeated pattern where it takes 5 women to throw her out.
Yeah, they had a little moment with Beth Phoenix coming in at number 24. They squared off, the Glamazon and Nia Jax, a bit of power on power. But most of the veterans, although you did get some cool stuff like Molly doing her Molly go-round and some cool moments with the wrestlers there, most of them were pretty good in the ring.
Yeah, they did definitely feel like they belonged there. There wasn't too much awkwardness, and it really felt like a legend was coming back as opposed to a bunch of really old people coming back and not really knowing what to do. So
exactly. Then at number 25, you got my pick to win it, Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to get afraid, because at number 27, we had Nikki Bella. And then I got a little more afraid, because at number 28, we had Brie Bella. And that's when I got very scared, because they're so big on Total Divas and Total Bellas, and there's that whole John Cena connection. And I got really terrified that they would have been out of wrestling this whole time, and then just come back and win the big one.
Yeah, also didn't help that, speaking of crowd chants, yes chants started appearing.
Exactly. It was that whole connection to other wrestlers. That's fine, but I really felt that if one of the Bellas was going to win, that maybe they should have been there, more time. They put in a lot of time to wrestling, and I very much respect what they've done, but I wanted an active superstar to win, not a part-timer.
Mm.
And then at 30, we got Trish Stratus, who the WWE is really high on right now. Gotta love Trish Stratus. The problem I mentioned before is Trish Stratus, as well as she did give WWE the whole, idea of you can make a model a wrestler and it'll work out. Trish Stratus is kind of just a one in a million. She works, she's an amazing wrestler, and it all worked out great. But, I don't think they've been really able to repeat that process of taking someone with no wrestling experience and then, turning them into just an amazing competitor. But,
yeah.
Deserving of the 30 spot.
Yeah, I was going to say, she definitely deserved it just because, like I said previously, I didn't know who most of those were. I knew who Trish was because of the stories you told me. That was my initial fear when all the people were coming out. I was thinking, okay, so how many of these were just models that were trained up? But again, they all felt like they belonged there, and that was a good thing.
Exactly, and I was scared when both of the Bellas made the Final Four. I thought, man, we're so screwed. So the Final Four, if I'm remembering this right, was the Bellas, and then I think it was Sasha Banks?
Yeah, Sasha Banks, again, like Finn Balor, lasted the entirety of the Rumble, and it came down between the Bellas, her, and Asuka, and Sasha could have won it because she made an alliance with the Bellas, and all of the 3 of them were attacking Asuka. But then the Bellas made what could be generously called a slight miscalculation and threw Sasha out instead of Asuka.
Yes, and it ended up being that my pick to win won, Asuka.
Indeed.
I'm not taking much credit for that because a lot of people thought Asuka was going to win, but I'm just really glad she rebounded from the shaky start when she came into WWE and everyone was thinking she's not quite going to translate onto the main roster. But that's happened, and 2 Japanese superstars winning both Rumbles, that really looks strong.
Indeed, it was really awesome, and I'm glad that they're continuing the streak so that it feels like a big thing on the main roster as well. It's not, finally, Asuka is here and the streak is gone. Well,
Yeah, and then you got this kind of weird moment. Although I will say, for what happened on it, this did garner a lot of media attention. I just question how wise it was. That's when you got Ronda Rousey, Rowdy Ronda Rousey. I'm pretty sure I've heard that used before. In fairness, Rowdy Roddy Piper did give permission for the use of that moniker before he died. So that's not being stolen or anything. That's with permission.
Yeah.
She came out and kind of stole the moment. I think that's what really pissed a lot of people off. And I know a lot of the women wrestlers have not been too kind to Ronda on Twitter and social media. Some of it may be a work, but a lot of people, Sasha Banks hates everybody. so Sasha Banks has been unkind. She said, what has Sasha Banks got to say about Ronda Rousey? She says, I've got nothing to say about Ronda Rousey because I've got nothing nice to say about it. And if I've got nothing nice to say, I won't say anything.
Yeah, we've also had a Twitter from Nia Jax as well, which kind of sums up my feelings on it, because I'm kind of mixed, because on the one hand, it is a big buzz, and I'm kind of glad that what was predicted to happen was that she would be a surprise entrant in the Rumble and then go on to win it. I'm glad that didn't happen, but at the same time, I kind of agree with Nia Jax that there was like a thing they were saying, here's the epic moment, Ronda Rousey in the WWE, and Nia Jax tweeted, oh, well, I guess the 30 women who are making history could just be forgotten now then.
Yeah, I mean, it did overshadow what happened, and that was a big problem about it. She came in, didn't really anyone know why she was there, and she pointed to the WrestleMania sign, and what should have really been Asuka and the two women's champions moment between deciding who to go after.
The only really cool moment about that was, Ronda came out and she pointed at the WrestleMania sign in that old cliche way, and then stuck her hand out to Asuka, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's gonna be them! And then Asuka slapped the hand away, which at the time I was thinking, oh, okay, we're kind of building an animosity. But what I'm actually kind of liking is that it seems to be the way they're going is that Asuka actually rejected the idea of the match. Like, she's not interested. She's going after the Raw Women's Championship, which I do actually kind of like.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think I mentioned it last time, that the reason they're bringing in Ronda Rousey is actually to build up Stephanie McMahon as a mainstream star, and to build up her profile. Vince McMahon got a lot of success when he went up against Stone Cold and a lot of media attention. Ronda Rousey, and this is where her credit will be. And I think a lot of the other women wrestlers are a bit scared about their spots getting taken, and they're not really thinking far ahead that Ronda Rousey brings a huge amount of attention onto the women's division because she's a legitimate competitor. She's a movie star, and that's what she's bringing in. So maybe she hasn't earned her dues in professional wrestling, but, she is a fighter, she's a star, she's earned her spot where she is. Like, granted, she's probably going to be pushed to the moon, and you've all the right in the world to be angry about that, but you've got to remember that her success is your success. So there will be more eyes upon your division, you will get more spotlight, and it really does help legitimize the women's division in WWE.
Exactly.
Now, what they're setting up for, and what it would seem to be, it's a tag match at WrestleMania of some kind. This way they can limit the use of Ronda Rousey if she doesn't get, much wrestling training in before then. It's going to be Ronda Rousey and either The Rock as a repeat of the kind of moment that happened at WrestleMania a while ago when Ronda Rousey showed up, or more likely Kurt Angle. And that's going to be against Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. That's what we think is going to happen.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I have no objections to Ronda Rousey coming into the roster, and if they do use her to push Stephanie McMahon to have that kind of Stone Cold Steve Austin relationship, I'm perfectly down with it, because I'll be honest, one of the slight criticisms I have of Raw 25 is that, the Stone Cold and Vince bit was really funny, but it kind of nostalgic, but it also made you realize, wow, this is the problem with WWE right now. They have no relationship like this. Yeah,
another problem is what they would do in the past is they would put new wrestlers over old wrestlers, and now they definitely put old wrestlers over new wrestlers. They did it with the Revival when they had all of the old wrestlers come in and beat them down. Back in the day, they would have had the Revival come in and beat down all the old wrestlers. That doesn't get the Revival over, that just buries them.
Yeah, I think that's like the one small criticism you could make about the Women's Royal Rumble, which was that the returning wrestlers were holding their own against the current roster, but that said, overall, I really enjoyed the Women's Rumble, and literally my only beef with Ronda Rousey is, like you said, the timing of it. I think there could have been a better time, like maybe have her come in Elimination Chamber as opposed to stealing the moment from Asuka.
Another thing they need to be aware of is when Ronda Rousey comes in for the Elimination Chamber, which we will talk about, she's going to be booed.
Yeah.
She really is. With the everyone's favourite wrestlers are saying bad things about her.
Yeah.
And the way she's coming in, with what will be a contract signing instead of a match, she's going to get booed. But we'll speak about that when it comes to it.
Indeed. But yeah, I enjoyed both Rumbles, and like you said, I think the women's was the better one overall. I have no problems with 2 Rumbles, so I'm really hoping this continues to be a trend.
It was more Rumble, and I think as they continue to do more firsts in women's wrestling, we will see them gain a higher spot on the card to come.
Then with that, I will go over my second topic quickly, because as I mentioned, I was going to talk about Raw's 25th anniversary, but really, I didn't have that much to say about it, as the points I was going to bring up have already been brought up earlier in the discussions. Like, literally, the only other thing I could add is that I found it really weird that they had a section where The Undertaker returned only to walk into the ring and say, "I'm The Undertaker. I did things. Rest in peace."
He delivered a very puzzling promo that we didn't know if it was him saying, you know, I'm done, or I'm going to be back. It didn't say anything, and that's my problem when you do promos like that. We also had Jerry the King be a bit inappropriate. I think he mentioned puppies again, where Jim Ross was kind of like, move with the times.
Yeah.
The King's been re-signed, actually, and considering the events we talked about earlier, the King has been suspended for, you know, domestic abuse allegations.
Oh, for God's sake.
So he's back with the company, so there is an avenue for people to come back.
Yeah. There was also, again, part of the other problem with that anniversary is something that we've brought up before. What happens when you have weekly recordings of no planning versus tape shows is that the reason why they had all the GMs come out and wave to the crowd in a rather awkward way is that they were all supposed to be taking part in a skit where Jimmy Fallon was interviewing them all. But Jimmy Fallon's flight was delayed by 30 minutes. So instead of using, I don't know, any of the other hosts and presenters you have backstage, they just decided, we'll just scrap it and just throw them all out there.
They did a similar thing with the women wrestlers where they just came out and waved on a previous show for no reason whatsoever.
But yeah, that's not what we're talking about, because I figured, well, I've not got much to say about any of the other topics I was lining up for this, so I might as well talk about something I am very positive about, which is literally the same weekend we're recording this, the tapings of Lucha Underground Season 4 have started.
It's actually happening. That means superstars, or sorry, they're not called superstars outside of WWE, wrestlers who are under contract with Lucha Underground will get paid.
Indeed, yes. Things have already been changing so far. Like, they haven't elaborated on how the contracts have been going, because on a previous episode of the podcast, I mentioned that they were thinking about maybe doing talent exchanges and setting up partnerships with the likes of Impact, Ring of Honor, and Stardom Wrestling, and having their wrestlers go out to them. I mean, Cage, or as he's known outside of Lucha Underground, Brian Cage, entering, I think it was either Ring of Honor or Impact.
He's at Impact at the moment, as are quite a few of their stars.
So maybe they have set it up, but nothing's been officially confirmed. The only confirmation we've had is from an article written by Brandon Stroud on Uprocks.
I like it.
Yeah, Uprock spelled with 2 X's, because why not? A quote from one of the producers who said, "The guys will be coming here and spending a lot of time on our new set, and if I know our cast, I know they will all be constantly trying to one-up each other and constantly be looking for the angles and cool spots and things that are going to blow people away. They're very competitive. We've just sort of cleaned off the table and said, okay, let's start over, and you guys do what you want to do. And we also have to keep our eye on safety, and we've built the new ring with that in mind as well."
What would be nice is if they had some padding outside the ring. Because previously, it's been pretty barren out there, and they've done some crazy spots before. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do them, but I'm saying safety, yeah. Let's do that.
Indeed, yes. Something to make sure that you aren't going to have an Angelico situation where he was only in for like a couple of episodes because he got injured literally the first match and he came back from another injury.
Yes. I mean, I hate to say it's that style, but it is that style. Especially if you're going for ridiculous moves. I mean, you can wrestle a match and do a figure 4 leg lock for 10 minutes, and if you really sell it, you'll get the same reaction as jumping off something really tall. I'm not saying everyone's gonna hate me saying that, but you know, save the big spots for once in a while.
Indeed, yes. They have officially moved sets. It's still in Los Angeles rather than Mexico, but now it is taking place in, of all things, part of Union Central Cold Storage. Basically, it's an old warehouse on an industrial estate. They moved there for two reasons, which actually make a lot of sense when you realise that the show is operating on a smaller budget than previous seasons. The rent is cheaper, and there's more space, which means they're going to be selling more tickets because they can pack more people in.
That's true. I mean, I would like to see them set it inside of like a high-security made-up prison, where the wrestlers had to fight for their survival every night against increasingly more devastating and brutal prisoners.
That would actually be pretty cool, and I'll make a note of that. That's but
that's Jonin making a note. Sell ideas to Lucha.
But they are actually doing some variation of it, because they've already mentioned that they are excited to, as they put it, expand the world of the mythology by having it being set in new locations. Like, one of the things that I didn't actually think about until they mentioned it in the interview, which is, where is Matanza going to live now? What's he going to do? Which actually, yeah, that's actually, I would like to see that resolved in the show itself.
The beast is unchained. He can do anything. And not to mention, since we have wrestlers like Aerostar from space, there's a whole cosmos of alien wrestlers that could come down to Earth and challenge for some sort of ultimate fighting tournament. It's not just a battle for ourselves, it's a battle for our planet.
Indeed, yes. And it also makes sense when looking at it this way. That might be, I'm hoping he's not gone forever, but it might also be why they killed off Dario Cueto in the cliffhanger of the last season, just to kind of give a reason for why, okay, we're moving out of the temple into a new location. We haven't got any specific details about what the new storyline is going to be, but we've been told that they're taking advantage of the fact that it is a cold storage unit, and there's going to be a bit of a cold motif happening this season. You'll notice the colour palettes and more fans being into the building, that they've still got the platform for the band. So,
well, that aside, because sometimes that band is pretty ropey. You know, I was actually fine when Katrina took the band away. As long as the wrestlers aren't working cold, you know, they need their muscles to be hot. Otherwise, you know, stuff will tense up. And, you know, the audience aren't going to want to be shivering.
Yeah,
so as long as they don't, you know, like, oh, we want to see the breath, you know, as long as they don't keep it cold deliberately.
Yeah, I think they're going to just go for the more cold motif. Like, I don't know if it's just from these few screenshots we have, like, there's not that many shots, because apparently if they show too much of the set decoration, there'd be spoilers, but they're kind of going with the whole blue lighting and hovering around, so I'm guessing they're going partially ice-themed, partially the idea that it's a colder, darker place than the temple was.
Yeah, this is where we have the Ice Tribe, who are, like, freezing people to death.
Oh, that would be cool, actually.
I'm picturing, like, a Stargate cheap alien planet that's just a quarry with a blue tint on the camera.
They're probably going to have to do that, because they freely admitted that, yeah, it's going to be a lower budget, so they're having to keep in mind how they can get away with telling their stories, but, again, with a lower budget.
Well, here's what they can do with a lower budget. Don't hire Rey Mysterio. I'm serious. You know, you're going to hire the big names, they're going to want big money. And how much are you watching the show just for Rey Mysterio for?
They
could get plenty of guys in from the independent scenes who are amazingly talented. And if hiring Rey Mysterio is going to be, I don't know, like up to a quarter of your budget?
Yeah.
Don't bring in the huge names who are very recognizable, who are, you know, they have big money contracts on their tables. Don't bring in Alberto El Patron. You know, the guys who are going to want big money and aren't going to stick around anyway.
Indeed. I would also throw Sexy Star in there, but her big name's kind of gone down a bit. But anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point there, because, you know, Sexy Star probably ain't going to be in this series.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Like, at this time of recording, the only confirmed returns are obviously Pentagon Jr. is going to be in there because, you know, he's the champion. Or, Pentagon Duck, as he's referred to now.
I was about to correct you. There you go.
Yeah. Johnny Mundo was in the promo, so it'd be really weird if he wasn't there. We also have the Trios champions, the Mac, Killshot, and Dante Fox. So unless they're killed off screen, which would be a really odd move, they're probably going to be in as well.
Okay, that's cool. If Johnny's in, I imagine his whole troupe are in with Tyre on a lot of that. It's good to have the champions back. That's really cool. There's a lot of other names that we're probably not sure are going to be back. Sexy Star was one of them, but we'll see. They can always introduce new characters.
The only other thing I can say about the stage is that they've now got, rather than their previous arrangement, which was having the wrestlers come from backstage from the stairs and then walk down, there is going to be a catwalk for them this time. So.
Oh, cool. If they could have, like, some actual entrance music and maybe... I'm not saying they need an entrance video, but, you know, the entrance music's normally quite quiet and, you know, I think a good theme could build up. You know, Cage could really do with that kind of Terminator style. Dun 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 dun.
Indeed.
You know, building him up.
Yeah, like, so far the only iconic bit of his theme is the fact that you still get that quote of him going, I'm a machine! I mean, Prince Puma had, like, a fun theme, but yeah, I will agree with you that a lot of the wrestlers' themes kind of just go unnoticed.
Yeah, they're quite quiet with the audience there, so if they have some good speakers blasting that out, and please don't have the band play it.
Yeah, I mean, do the band play it? I can't remember.
I don't think so, but just don't.
Yeah, I think
just don't.
I think they're just usually there as pre-entertainment for the crowd that we always have to credit for some reason. And, occasionally for
so
Sexy Star
like...
to disguise herself just for the occasional spot.
I once went to see a freeform jazz group, and it wasn't so much as they were playing the instruments as they were throwing them around. And that's what it sounds like. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but it's not good.
That's fair enough. It's not one of the main attractions. So, yeah.
It's just not my jam, baby. It's not my jam.
So, yeah, this news is looking pretty positive so far. I'm kind of intrigued to see if they make good on their promise and actually do explore the idea of how everything changes when they've moved location and had a change of management and everything.
I expect the ghost of Dario Cueto as a Force ghost.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, if they had to cut him out of the show, because I don't know how much they were paying him, but if they had to cut him out of the show for money reasons, I would understand, but I would be quietly weeping.
Well, they could always do a million flashbacks with him in.
That is true, yes.
Don't do too many flashbacks, because that's garbage when you do stuff like that.
Indeed. The only other detail I can mention, and now I look at it, is that they're apparently having the wrestlers stay there and film it all the entire week at a time in order to do the home tapings and shooting the vignettes all in the same place.
Well, that's cool. As long as they don't lock them to those contracts they had last time. It was very difficult for them to do other work when they had to keep themselves free for TV tapings. I know places like TNA have sorted out their contracts to a certain extent. You still had claims about not being paid, which is terrible. As long as they sort out their contracts and are able to keep their stars happy, they shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, I think from the sound of it, I could be wrong here, but it sounds like they're saying, okay, we're filming on this specific time, come now, or something like that, but... yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm really hoping that, like you, they sort out the contract so that the wrestlers are happy and more likely to stick around. And, yeah, I'm hoping that they're able to still produce a great show even with the budget cuts. And, yeah, if they have to lose Rey Mysterio, I can totally see that. I mean, thankfully, they do have the excuse because he was locked into a prison right next to Matanza. And as far as I'm aware, no one knows he's there.
I mean, they could just have Matanza come out of that prison covered in bits.
Yeah. It's either that or he breaks out of prison but then decides to leave Rey there.
Yeah, I can't see him leaving Rey. I think he would just wreck him.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
I mean, I don't know if they would ever have the permission to do this, but it would actually be cool, and one way to save the budget would be if Matanza sort of broke out the jail and he just sort of rampaged into the ring and he's holding Rey Mysterio's mask.
That would be cool. I think they would probably shy away from stuff like taking Mysterio's mask. He's been very protective of that since WCW.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Like, it's a different world, and Lucha Libres are very protective of their masks.
But then again, if you want to bring Flip the Mic podcast on as writers, we will work for peanuts.
Indeed, yes. So, yes, I would be happy to do that, because especially since WWE's hit a slump right now, and I do enjoy good wrestling, but I also enjoy good storylines, and Lucha Underground seems to be the only people that are delivering that right now, because WWE...
I would make a cat person try because I'm into cat people.
That is fair enough.
There's plenty of space for a space tribe.
Indeed. Space tribe, ice tribes, and maybe a cat
Yeah.
tribe. Who knows? Maybe try to remake the legacy of Prince Puma. Who knows? Anyway.
Yeah, Prince Puma or Ricochet, as he is in NXT developmental now. For real.
He's definitely not coming back.
But alas, as I unintentionally writing us out of future prospects of writing with my shady ideas. Anything else on that subject?
Nope, that's all I've got. So I guess we now move on to the predictions.
So here we are with Elimination Chamber predictions that are bound to be wrong, and we're going to cover the matches that are set in stone at this time. The Elimination Chamber takes place tomorrow. I will be watching it and probably editing something whilst I'm doing so. We have a bunch of matches set up. First on the pre-show, and there may be one or two matches on the pre-show, we don't know, but the one confirmed is the incredibly exciting Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson of the Club versus the Miz Taraj Snore. And whoever wins this match, no one wins. To be brutally honest.
Yeah. Hurrah, we are the kings of filler!
Exactly. I'm not really sure why this match is taking place. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson have been sliding down the card, even with their association with Finn Balor, bringing that back up to the club, or the Balor Club as they like to call it, which sounds really weird for other superstars to want to be part of something that's named after another superstar.
Yeah.
You just can't say Bullet Club. The Miz Taraj, although they're on TV, they kind of feel like free MB, where they just don't have a place.
Yeah.
And they could see themselves removed from the show at any point in time. You know, even after being used. They're just jobbers. They're there to take hits.
Yeah, well, they're basically there just to act as the Mrs. Goon, so that if he's going up against someone who he might not stand a chance against, they're there to distract.
Exactly.
Mainly to basically take the Intercontinental title from Roman Reigns. Basically, that's why they're there, and now their purpose has been used.
Exactly. I mean, they will help get dirty wins, and that's what they're there for. They're also there to help The Miz look courageous in certain points, because he really shouldn't be, fighting anyone unless he has backup.
Yeah.
Then we'll go on to the Elimination Chamber matches last, I feel. So if we jump forward to Asuka versus Nia Jax. This is a singles match. If Jax wins, she will be added to Asuka's championship match at WrestleMania 34. The note there is that Asuka won't be removed from her championship match.
Yeah.
And I believe they've assumed that she's going after the Raw title.
Yeah, which it makes sense because she basically said as much at the beginning of the Women's Royal Rumble. In fact, it was the first time anyone's challenged Alexa Bliss. So
Exactly. And Alexa Bliss will be defending her title, so she might not have the title when it comes to it in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we talk about the Elimination Chamber. But yeah, as for this, as cool as it would be to have Nia Jax take part in the main event of WrestleMania, or at least the women's main event, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's definitely not going to happen. They can't have Asuka lose now.
Yeah, it would be really weird to say, here's Asuka, the winner of the Royal Rumble, and here's Nia Jax kicking her ass.
Exactly, she just won the Rumble. They can't have her lose now. They'll be making Nia Jax look strong, although she did lose to Asuka a little while back, in the way that she was unable to compete. And I know they tried to make it look like she just... it was just a really stupid angle.
Yeah,
because
Asuka was so ruthless, man. I mean, yeah, sure, Nia Jax is also equally as ruthless and has taken a lot worse hits than this, to the point where it actually took 5 women to eliminate her from the Rumble. But no, her knee, man.
So they were trying to protect Nia Jax by having her not be pinned or submitted, but by doing that they had it so she couldn't continue the match because she was beaten up so bad she couldn't fight. Which is worse than just being pinned on a quick roll-up. I mean, my goodness! We've seen in NXT, Asuka has beaten Nia Jax twice already, and she beats her with the same move each time, which is the same way Bayley beat her as well, I think. It was just a reverse chokehold, and Nia Jax never seemed to figure out just to walk to the ropes and grab the ropes. It's just a reverse sleeper.
But it's NXT, it doesn't count unless we say it does, because otherwise where would Asuka get the streak from? But anyway...
Well, I imagine they'll make Nia Jax look really strong. but I imagine Asuka is going to win.
Yeah, it would be really odd if she had won. I mean, I know Vince McMahon likes his crazy swerves, like, what if we had Daniel Bryan lose in 15 seconds and the like. But...
I mean, Daniel Bryan is still in flux with that match against Shane at Mania that may or may not happen, but probably won't happen. We could always add him to the women's title match.
Oh, God. But then the next match after that is Woken Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt. Versus Bray Wyatt.
Yes! So this match is actually happening. For some reason I didn't think it would be on the card, but it is. It's a singles match, a regular singles match. I mean, it feels like they would benefit from a lot of video package footage where they could do a lot of that kind of apocalypto or final deletion stuff where they could go backstage and do a load of crazy stuff with the Lake of Rejuvenation, Senor Benjamin, and, all of that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Cool nonsense. I love it.
Yeah.
If they're just doing a regular match inside the ring, it's going to be rubbish.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons, aside from the fact that, as we mentioned, Vince just likes a character to repeat the same thing and not move. It's the fact that they're not really allowing it to be as crazy. I mean, the second promo when Matt Hardy was playing chess against Napoleon the Goldfish, that was great.
That was cool.
But they haven't allowed them to do anything beyond that. It's basically been a repeat of the first promo where they're both talking to the screens and they're saying, Bray Wyatt is dangerous. Matthew Hardy is dangerous. It's...
Exactly. I mean, by comparison, Randy Orton's rivalry with Bray Wyatt was more entertaining because Randy got to do some crazy stuff like burn down a barn and stuff like that.
Yeah, and on top of the key things, that actually brings to a point, things are happening. They're doing stuff against each other, not just talking smack about each other.
Randy Orton shoved a Crucifix, the magical weapon against the darkness, into Sister Abigail's grave. And I just love Randy Orton saying nonsense like that.
Yeah, I mean... It just, even if it's nonsense, just having them do something. It's just, they've been doing the repeated promos, and if something crazy was to happen in the ring, like, I'll even take projections of spiders, because at least it's something,
Yeah, I really hold out hope that they do something completely crazy. But the way WWE works, they probably said, okay, guys, you've got 15 minutes, do something.
Yeah, so maybe... I just hope they do give Matt Hardy just the freedom to do more stuff so that he and Bray can actually... I would actually like it if... Maybe this is just a Lucha Underground fan of me talking, but I would actually like if the two of them just went off and did their own crazy segments for a bit, though that still being in the mid-card, but had their own, like, crazy adventures on their own terms in the backstage, so that... Again, stuff would actually be happening rather than just having them make Skype calls at each other, basically.
It feels like, I mean, they definitely have time on the show, they're just not using it. It may be the fact that stuff might end up in a comic book rather than in the ring. But we'll see. Matt Hardy really needs the win here. He's not looking so legitimate. They've made people more afraid of him in the ring, but really he needs to beat somebody. He's been higher up on the card recently, but he has to beat Bray Wyatt. If Bray Wyatt beats him again, then it's going to look really for Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
So Matt Hardy has to win, but I think Bray Wyatt will win because he's the bigger star in WWE. And Matt Hardy's whole purpose is to put over Bray Wyatt. If they want to be sensible here, Matt Hardy will beat Bray Wyatt. And then when it comes to Mania and they have the ultimate crazy match, which is probably what's going to happen, Bray Wyatt will come out on top.
Yeah,
or maybe he'll just lose and still call himself the new face of fear.
That would be cool. I mean, another angle which I don't think they're going to go with, because I freely admit it was just me misinterpreting the last time. Matthew Hardy keeps talking about Woken Warriors. I would actually think it would be pretty cool if he did start forming a faction.
Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, he could also do the kind of Bray Wyatt follower thing where a load of Woken Warriors appear in the ring or something and distract Bray Wyatt. They've got to do something a bit cool, a bit crazy, to make this match not as plain as it looks on paper. And then next up, we have The Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus, with a WWE Raw Tag Team Championship match against Titus Worldwide!
AKA, oh crap, the Shield are gone, we need to think of something.
Yeah. Apollo, one of the most underrated superstars on WWE, may well be just Apollo as the name, because Apollo Crews' name has been shortened due to various reasons, which we won't go into, but Apollo will probably just be called Apollo going forward. And Titus O'Neil, Titus O'Neil's been a great manager, and then you've got Dana Brooke on the outside for some reason. I don't know what they're doing with Dana Brooke.
Yeah.
Like, if you want her to get better in the ring, then make her do more matches.
Indeed.
If you're just going to relegate her to that kind of Summer Rae position, where you have her on the outside and you have her just as eye candy, it just seems crazy. I mean, what is a statistician doing outside the ring?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, Corey Graves is having a lot of fun at it on commentary, but I don't see what she's doing there. And we're all forgetting that Akira Tozawa is supposed to be part of Titus Worldwide, and that's just been dropped.
Yeah.
So the Cruiserweight connection is gone.
Yeah, that's one of the frustrating things, because I was really liking the whole Titus Worldwide stuff and the way they were going with it, but then it's just suddenly stopped, and then I was half joking earlier. They just decided, okay, we need another tag team. Who can we have? Titus Worldwide. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would like to have seen Dana Brooks, evolve as a character and then do some wrestling matches as Titus Worldwide. Not to be... I mean, I have been critical about Dana Brooks for not being the most polished wrestler, but she's not going to get better not wrestling. So if they have decided to put her on the sidelines, she's just going to fade away and classify herself as obsolete, in the words of Matt Hardy. That's a shame, but I really don't see Titus Worldwide winning this match. Although they have picked up a number of wins over the bar, it's because they weren't being taken seriously. This is just a filler match on the card between events.
Indeed. And
so the bar win.
Indeed, yeah, they're going to win. I mean, Titus Worldwide have never been treated seriously in any context, unfortunately.
Exactly. So then we're going to move on to the Elimination Chamber matches themselves. First up, the men's Elimination Chamber, which is a 7-way match. It's going to start off with 3 competitors in the ring instead of 2, which is really interesting. The competitors are Braun Strowman, someone's going to get these hands, Elias, who is going to be last in the ring because he won that right by pinning John Cena, I believe. Braun Strowman's really mad about that and kicked Elias' ass. He's been kicking his ass recently quite a bit. But you've got Finn Balor, who I believe won the opportunity in the Last Chance Battle Royale, which was between him, Bray Wyatt, Apollo Crews, and Woken Matt Hardy. And then you have John Cena, please no. Roman Reigns, who we think he's going to win it.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins, who really injured himself on Raw, is probably going to be the reason why he's going to be quite, beaten up in this match and unable to partake. And my favourite, The Miz.
Indeed.
Awesome!
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Roman Reigns is probably going to win because, well... unless he does something very crazy storyline-wise, this is the only way he's going to earn a match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, John Cena is at this point in his career where he's questioning if he's going to be at WrestleMania. So I see John Cena maybe being pushed back on the card somewhere. He might even end up as that person that teams with Ronda against Triple H and Stephanie. We don't know.
Well, the rumours I've heard was that he was going to be against Elias. That's part of the reason why they're pushing him suddenly. So
that is true. I had heard about that, but forgotten about it because it's so boring.
Yeah,
maybe they can have a guitar battle, rap battle.
That would actually be kind of cool. I mean, John Cena could definitely pull it off.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like John Cena would out-wordsmith Elias. Elias is getting better on the guitar, and you know what? He's been getting a couple of cheers when he plays a good little lick.
Yeah.
But he still plays pretty basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have talked about it before, that when he was playing the basic blues, he was playing it with one finger like an idiot. just moving along the frets, from the 2nd fret to the 4th. Oh my goodness, you can use more than one finger, man.
Yeah.
It'll be so much easier.
I should also explain for the guys, MVL is a musician, he does know these things. But yeah, I think Roman's probably the most likely one. I mean, all the other wrestlers, they've been a bit too questionable. I mean, Seth has been getting a big push, but Elias and Cena, they've been possibility of a feud, but we don't know what's really going on with them. Finn Balor, his push has been going back and forth like a yo-yo. I mean... It's
like the handbrake keeps coming on and coming off. Stop, start, stop, start.
Yeah, he gets a really big push at the Rumble, then he's suddenly just wandering around in the tag division, the Balor Club, and then he gets a spot in Elimination Chamber, but he's also up against Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, John Cena.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to think if Braun Strowman starts the match, how do you deal with that? You can't escape him. There's a giant elimination chamber. I mean, Braun Strowman, he could break through the elimination chambers. We've seen it done before. Big guys have broken through them. I mean, he could probably break through the whole structure.
Yeah.
I know they've made it safer. The whole structure layout looks more like a steel cage with a roof on it than it did like an elimination chamber now. But still, you're going to be landing on some hard surfaces. It's no longer exposed steel on the outside. They have mats on and it kind of rubbery and looks like steel, but it's not.
So I guess that'll be the interesting wild card of how Braun Strowman's going to factor in all this. I mean, again, some of the WrestleMania rumors are that he's going to be going up against The Miz for his Intercontinental title of all things. So,
wow. I mean, that's going to be a deer in headlights.
Yeah. I mean, that's always one of the rumors. I mean, although they've also been having The Miz go up against John Cena recently in a bizarre note. In fact, actually, that's a point. The Miz is going in at number 1 in the Elimination Chamber because he lost to John Cena. And
that is correct.
And I will admit, I did like the verbal sparring between them. Like, one of my favourite quotes of John Cena was when The Miz was claiming that, you don't know all the possibilities, I could win the world title against Brock Lesnar. And then John was going, yes, I don't know all the possibilities. Brock Lesnar's flight could be delayed. He could get food poisoning.
Yeah, I really hated that, actually. Especially as John Cena was kind of chumped by Brock last time they had a one-on-one match. As well as, and I should correct myself, that The Miz really shouldn't be afraid of Braun Strowman. No one should. Because if you're going to be a wrestler and you're going to be a champion, you can't have that mentality as, I can't get past this guy. If you can't beat someone, you shouldn't be there.
That is true. I guess it might just be the delivery. I do like John. Although, in fairness, you could also say with a character that he kind of knows what a challenge Brock Lesnar is, and so when he looks at The Miz, he just sees, yeah, this guy has no chance in hell.
Yeah, I mean, The Miz is so hot right now. He's running on fumes, so he could get there.
Yeah.
I don't think he would get that one-on-one match against Brock Lesnar because they're saving that for a big time. And who knows how long Brock Lesnar's going to be with the company as well.
Yeah, I will freely agree that The Miz is getting very popular. He's doing really good mic work and he's doing a lot of good stuff in the spotlight. I just don't know. I think the problem is a lot of these wrestlers, they are getting their own individual pushes. We just don't know which way they're going to go. Like, I would say Roman's probably going to win overall, but yeah, I don't know how they would deal with Braun Strowman and still make him out to be the big, strong, unstoppable guy that they're trying to make him out to be.
Well, there is one plus if Roman does go on to defeat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and that's that he will finally unlock the Universal Championship, because it's rarely being defended, and when it is, it's some matches that are a couple of minutes long and underwhelming to say the least.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see that title, even though it's not got much lineage to it. You know, it's not got the wealth of competition behind it that the WWE title, or as it should be called, the WWE World Heavyweight title, but they just call it the WWE title now, has behind it. But nevertheless, the main title on Raw, you would like to see being defended and on the show. That's why this match is for a spot against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania and not for the title itself, like the women's matches.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the frustrating things. Like, I don't mind that Brock Lesnar is a guy who comes in and out and isn't there all the time, but at the same time, it's kind of like when they were pushing Jinder a while back. It's just really irritating when, yeah, why are you building this up? We know how this is going to win. We know that you're not planning to give this away at any other time after WrestleMania. Stop pretending. Stop going, oh yeah, everyone's got a chance against Brock Lesnar. No, we know this. That's why he was so buoyed at the Rumble as well. We know Kane and Braun Strowman aren't going to beat him. Braun Strowman already couldn't beat him, so stop it.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to have to be Roman Reigns. I mean, Seth Rollins hasn't had... Has Seth Rollins had a one-on-one against Roman Reigns? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I think actually the last big match/feud he had was when he used the Money in the Bank contract, but...
Okay, yeah, so let's not forget that he did cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase and defeat both Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania to win the title with the curb stomp, which he's recently started using again.
Yeah, so he could also be a wild card. They are trying to make it so that he's a big push and a big deal again, but whether they're planning to have him take the title off Brock Lesnar, just to curveball everyone who's followed the rumors, or if they're planning to have Roman Reigns win and then have Seth go up against him, I guess we won't know.
So my prediction is obviously Roman Reigns is going to win to a horrendous crowd reaction. And then I suspect the women's Elimination Chamber will be the main event, so we might have a bit of a rowdy crowd during that as well.
Yeah.
But talking about rowdy, we did miss another match off the card. And it's not a match. It is the contract signing of Ronda Rousey.
Yes. Yeah, it's probably going to be a bit of a rowdy crowd, especially since we forgot to mention this, but in that same god-awful moment where the crowd were cheering Jason Jordan's injury, they did also mention that Ronda Rousey would be signing a contract at WrestleMania, and the crowd started booing.
Oh, signing a contract at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, so...
Yes. I suspect she will start up some kind of rivalry with Raw Commissioner Stephanie McMahon at this point, and they will develop it from there. I really hope they make a good tense moment between the two. If it's just quite a flat delivery, we're going to really suffer from quite a drawn-out silence from the crowd, or even worse, as everyone has been predicting, some boos.
Yeah, I mean, Stephanie McMahon is a pretty good performer. Ronda, well, let me put it this way. I looked up a fight scene she had in Furious 7 just to see what her acting skills and fighting style were like. The tone was kind of flat.
Well, I mean, I hold high hopes for Ronda because she's doing a remake of Roadhouse.
That is true. So.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. So it's good to see her on screen. It's good to see how they're going to develop this, but I'm really scared there's going to be some boos.
Yeah, that's my only thing. I mean, I'm not saying... What a stress here. I'm not saying that Ronda Rousey is a bad actress or that she can't improve. It's just one of those things that if you're going to try and push her front and center, you can't do a repeat of Roman Reigns. They must have been training her in the back saying, okay, this is how we're going to perform it. Or at least find something that matches her character. Like, if you're going to make her this incredibly stern, serious person, fine. That would be great.
Yeah, what you really don't want to do here is get knocked out within a couple of minutes of the first round. I'm talking about CM Punk, of course.
Of course, yes.
Okay. To the main event.
Yeah, the main event, the Women's Elimination Chamber.
For the Women's Championship, the Raw Women's Championship is on the line.
Yeah.
Because Alexa doesn't have the same pulling power as Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and this is something that I'm just going to go on a quick tangent briefly, because this was one other potential topic I was going to bring up, but I decided I could bring it up elsewhere. There was one promo exchange recently where Kurt Angle announced that, yes, Alexa Bliss, you are going to be in the Elimination Chamber, and you are going to defend your championship then. And Alexa Bliss kicked up this major fuss, saying, the Elimination Chamber is supposed to be deciding who goes up against me. You wouldn't be treating Brock Lesnar this way.
What I really liked is that she called Kurt sexist, which got quite a reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a really nice touch.
Yeah, she did basically call him out for the sexism, but Kurt Angle, then what was supposed to be a clever counter, said, you haven't defended your title since, I forget the name of the pay-per-view. Was it Great Balls of Fire? I forget. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
For ages. She hasn't defended the title for ages.
Yeah, that's basically
At which point, she returned saying, that's not my decision. That's the booking.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. I mean, I get what they were trying to do, that they were trying to make it out that Alexa Bliss is kind of worming her way out of it, especially since the Angles continued with her. I don't know if it's meant to be a face turn or a manipulation, but she is basically going out to Mickie James and say, hey, I want to be friends again just because I know what Absolution are going to do. They're going to just grab the title off me and then play keep away. Which I thought, well, that actually would have been nice if they had mentioned that was their motivation from the beginning instead of just tacking it on right now. But
yeah, that is definitely something they could do, defend the title within their own faction. So Alexa Bliss was able to procure the friendship once more of Mickie James, who she, in storyline, brought back to the WWE through defending her from Absolution when they attacked her. Which adds a really strange dynamic where Alexa Bliss is allied with Mickie James. Bayley is allegedly allied with Sasha Banks, although Sasha Banks did eliminate Bayley from the Royal Rumble. And it has been said a lot of the times that Sasha Banks is really out for Sasha Banks. And then you have Absolution, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, the relative newbies in this match. But then again, there's only so many women wrestlers on Raw, so that's the match.
Indeed. So it was one of those things where, yeah, I kind of see where they're going with it, and the angle is kind of interesting, but at the same time, it kind of brings out the problem I've had with a lot of the booking with the women's division in that, yeah, Alexa Bliss hasn't defended her title. You've had Asuka attacking Nia Jax. You've had Sasha Banks attacking Bayley and members of Absolution. Why did it take this long for anyone to challenge the title? Or for anyone to acknowledge that Alexa Bliss was the champion? Why did it have to come up an Elimination Chamber?
Exactly, and one thing as well, with Alexa Bliss having held this title for so long, it's very much possible that another superstar, Bayley or Sasha Banks, that they perceive to be a higher superstar, could take the title at this juncture so close to WrestleMania and then be the one that defends it at WrestleMania. That could very much happen.
Yeah.
Making Alexa holding the title for all that time pretty much count for naught.
That's kind of why I'm just sort of looking at this list here thinking who would be able to take it. Like Sasha Banks maybe, but...
Well, it won't be one of the new call-ups. It won't be one of Absolution.
Yeah, they're way too new. Like, if Paige was in there, maybe, but as we discussed last time, Paige's injury means that she's more of a support for Absolution at this point, and the other two haven't really got the staying power. Like Sonya Deville maybe, but...
It definitely can't be Mickie James. She's only there as enhancement talent. That's the returning veteran's role. And then having said that, Mickie James picked up a win against Bayley not too long ago, and Bayley lost to Lana on the Mixed Match Challenge.
Yeah.
So Bayley's stock is at an all-time low.
Which is really weird, because they had her also beating Sasha Banks, but I guess that was to feud a potential rivalry that's going on, because, like you said, they're kind of going at, well, they are sort of friends, but are they?
Yeah, so either Sasha Banks takes the title and makes a heel turn to be the heel for Asuka's face moving forward to that match, or they make Alexa Bliss prove that she deserves to be the champion and win it from the number 1 or number 2 spot.
So, yeah, of the two, I would say it's either going to be Alexa Bliss or Sasha Banks, because, like you said, this could lead to WrestleMania, and at the moment it's looking like they're going to go up against Asuka, so it either has to be Asuka ripping the title away from Alexa Bliss, or someone strong enough to actually make it a big deal, and... Like you said, Bayley's stock is going really up and down at the moment, so I think it's going to have to be either Sasha or Alexa at this point.
Yes, I want it to be Alexa Bliss, and I want her to start the match. But I think it's going to be Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks spent an hour in the Royal Rumble. They're already proving her... Not an hour, like 55 minutes, close to an hour though.
Yeah, she came in at number 2 for crying out loud.
Yeah, they're proving that she's a big force in the women's division. She's really popular overall, so I think Sasha Banks is going to snag the title away, and then she's going to run over Bayley on the pay-per-view prior to WrestleMania, or at some point to that effect.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be Sasha Banks, evil Sasha Banks versus Asuka, because I don't think they're going to turn Asuka heel yet.
Yeah. I mean, they do have her acting cocky and arrogant, and there was the whole thing with Nia Jax, but they're kind of sticking her in a firmly neutral area, to be honest. That said, I think the other thing that could also happen is that in the Elimination Chamber, there could be a thing where Bayley and Sasha Banks team up to take out Alexa, and then Sasha takes a cheap shot from behind on Bayley.
This is the last pay-per-view for Raw, I believe, before WrestleMania. The next one, Fastlane, is SmackDown. So whoever wins this match will definitely be in the top spot moving forward. Then they will be facing Asuka, who we know is not going to lose to Nia Jax. So I think it's going to be Sasha Banks.
Indeed, yes. That would seem to be the safest prediction, unless they want to literally make Alexa Bliss the next Brock Lesnar and have her hold on to the title indefinitely until WrestleMania.
Or they also make it a 7-way and add in Ronda Rousey.
Oh, God.
I have heard that they're doing a full-time contract with her, but she could very easily be part-time. She's got out of wrestling commitments like filming and stuff like that. So, you never know. What I would imagine is the Women's Elimination Chamber match will be the kind of pick-me-up after the, not so great Men's Elimination Chamber result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does seem likely. Unless, of course, they decide to do it the other way around, in which case... Good night, folks. We've pissed in your kettle.
I very much foresee the Women's Elimination Chamber being the main event. Mm-hmm. I think it would be very foolish to have it earlier on the card. But then again, the matches we're looking at aren't in order because we don't know what the order will be at this time.
Yeah.
We're just predicting they'll do the Elimination Chamber matches last.
I mean, that would make sense.
Although I suspect that structure will be hanging from the ring the entire time, ominously.
Pretty much, yes. and then accidentally fall down during one of the matches. No, I'm sure the WWE...
Well, let's hope that does not happen.
Yeah, it is kind of a hilarious mental image just having, like, let's just say, pick an example at random, let's say Mr. Cesaro versus Titus Worldwide, they're doing their match, and then suddenly the Elimination Chamber falls in.
I mean, there was a match once where they called down to bring the cage down during the match, which was really cool. I can't remember where that took place, but that's a good idea, because it's up there anyway.
Yeah.
So someone can just be like, now they're in the ring, get the cage down. Because it's going to be hanging over the whole time. I mean, TNA had the foresight when they were doing a cage pay-per-view to have every match, including the knockouts matches, in the cage, which makes a lot more sense. If you're going to have it there, use it for every match.
Yeah, might as well.
I mean, last time round, Elimination Chamber, they had a tag team Elimination Chamber as well, which was cool. Or it might not have been last time. It might have been a while ago, but they had one anyway.
Yeah. So, overall, I think, those are our predictions for Elimination Chamber. Honestly, it doesn't look as exciting as a Rumble. This is more like preparation for WrestleMania, in all honesty.
Yeah, we are on the road to WrestleMania, and those are our predictions. They are bound to be wrong for the Elimination Chamber.
Indeed.
And that's it for myself, MVO, baby, and the Jonin Monkey.
You can't see me, but I'm pointing at the WrestleMania sign right now.
We're both pointing at the WrestleMania sign in hope for a spot. Everyone does that these days. It's so overused. So as we point to the WrestleMania sign, we'll see you next time on the Flip the Mic podcast.
See you around.